Today, I spoke with Elliot, the neurodivergent professional. Through lots of hard work and self development, Elliot has earned his way into a Big Five accounting firm, despite major mental health struggles in his early life, as well as having undiagnosed ADHD, audio processing disorder, dyslexia, and dyspraxia. In our conversation, we cover topics like motivation, overcoming limiting beliefs, and navigating the professional world with neurodiversity. I think you will really find it interesting. Enjoy. So you mentioned at work there's, these issues with focus and retaining information and how everyone experiences that. But how would you say that differs for neurodiverse versus neurotypical people in your experience?
So when it comes to focus issues, I would say the difference is neurodiverse people get the issues of not focusing, but can get it on a much more extreme level. And as far as regaining focus, they can struggle to regain focus. It's a lot harder for neurodiverse people to regain focus. Um, the reason why I mentioned that neurotypical people also get similar issues is not to say it's not an issue, but it's to say that with a lot of these things, it's about growing a friendly relationship with it. And it's about befriending the issue and saying, instead of saying, oh, this is so annoying, I can't focus, and complaining about it, you actually say, okay, I understand that I'm neurodiverse. I understand that I have focus issues. And so, because I understand this, I'm going to find a solution for it. Because every problem has a solution. Sometimes it's more difficult to get to it, but there will be some sort of solution. It just takes trial and error to get there.
Yeah. And talk me through some of these solutions you found.
So, to be honest, my main solution right now for focus is using Flora. Um, I really struggle to get my head into something, especially when it's not that interesting. If I'm not actively using my brain, I'm the worst person at getting stuck into something. So I use Flora because my phone is a distraction. Um, I do find it to be a distraction. So I use Flora and I put it on the timer and I say, okay, I can't use my phone. I would honestly say that does a lot for me because it also means that if I do lose focus of what I'm doing, it's almost like I'm not losing focus and focusing on something else because if there's nothing else to focus on, then it's kind of like I don't have a choice. I'm not going to stare at a blank wall. So I would say that like it's almost like cutting out my options of what I can get distracted by, a really distracted, not having a really distracting work environment, not having a lot going on. My desk is very, very simple. I mean, right now I have laptop, monitor, microphone, webcam, and I have a candle.
Hmm.
So it's a very, very simple work environment. But if I had games here, if I had this here, if I had that there, I would get so unbelievably distracted. So a lot of it is cutting out what I can get distracted by so that I lose focus. I sort of go into my own world for a bit. I come back in and there's nothing else to focus on apart from the work that I'm meant to be doing.
And so we've talked a bit about the focus aspect of things and productivity. But I can't help but mention that these office spaces and just these work environments can be very dysregulating, like emotionally and energetically. Have you found a way to navigate that or remedy dysregulation?
So the way my day normally works energy wise is I go to the gym in the morning. That's something that really helps me. Going to the gym in the morning, first of all, I feel like I have more energy after the gym. It's sort of I've woke up in the morning, I've already hit one challenge, I'm ready to go for the rest of my day, right? I'll have a walk around the block, around the area. I'll just go for a walk, get some fresh air. Although in England it can be hard because when it's really, really terrible weather as it is for like 70% of the year, you're not always going to want to go for a walk. But I try and I sit by the window, I have a look out into the rest of the world. I just getting my head out of the office and either sitting by a window, going out for a walk, anything is that's really helpful. I find when I'm lacking energy, I've always said to people, when mentally you're feeling drained and you don't when you're feeling drained and your natural response is, "I don't want to do anything," that's
Hmm.
probably the exact time to try your hardest to do something. I'm not saying, "Oh, ignore the issue and go do some more work." I mean, do something as in you're a bit drained, you're feeling like you just wanna sit down and do nothing. I mean, go for a walk, have a chat with someone, do anything. If you're working from home and you haven't made your bed, go make your bed, do clean up something, just do anything that is not necessarily work related but is somewhat productive. Because I find that you're feeling a bit drained, you're lacking energy, you choose, okay, I'm drained, I just want to sit down and do nothing, it's just going to make you feel worse mentally in the long run. Alongside this, there's an important thing to know is that eating well, I know you speak a lot about eating well and health is eating well is really important. You can get your energy from your food. Having a healthy diet as well will make you feel better. Um, I know this is like you asking me questions, but I'm sure you have a lot of information on as well the actual research behind how you feel and the foods you intake into your body. But especially now in society where there are so many processed foods, I meal prep, I cook my dinners, I cook my own breakfast. It is simple meals can be very quick to make, but it can make you feel 10 times better than going and having a sandwich from a random shop or having a processed food, fast food, or anything like that. Can make you feel, it can do wonders for your mental health. And also drinking a lot of water. I completely forget to drink water normally. So I actually set a goal and I say, by this time, I need to have X amount of water. So I try and drink 2 liters a day. So I keep it simple and say by midday, I need to have a liter of water. If I've only had like 300 mils of water and it gets to midday, then I'll drink like 500 mils of water just with my lunch and just try and top up and get further along. But just making sure you're eating well and drinking water is also amazing for energy.
Hmm. And what are some things you shouldn't do? Like some things that'll just kind of dysregulate you or just kill your focus, kill your momentum. Yeah, what are some mistakes you've made along the way that you've been able to learn from?
One of the things is coffee. I have a love-hate relationship with coffee. And what I mean by that is I really do love coffee. I love the taste of it. I love to drink coffee. It makes me feel better to an extent. I have been, at the moment, I drink a coffee a day. I have a coffee in the morning before I go to the gym. I have been at a point where I've been having 8, 9 coffees a day. Now, what I mean when I talk about the negatives of coffee is that if you have too much coffee, it actually has the reverse effect and it starts making you more tired. If we stay on the anxiety topic for a second, is that in my experience, you have too much caffeine, it makes you feel more anxious. And then because you've had so much caffeine, you struggle to sleep at night. And because you're sleep deprived, then you also feel worse the next day. And then you have too much caffeine, and that makes you feel worse. And then you can't sleep, and that makes you feel worse. And it's just not it's not a great way of living. So I would say maximum maybe 1 cup a day. Um, I mentioned as well about the eating healthily. So obviously, one of the things that I wouldn't recommend is fast food and that bad food. Your gut, there is a link, as you know as well. There's a link between your gut and your brain. And if your gut isn't doing well, your brain's not going to do well, and vice versa. If you're not feeling good, your gut's not going to be good either.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in my personal experience with work, one thing that I find really helps with focus is just being really motivated and having a why, having a purpose behind everything. Do you find that having, a purpose behind your work or like a why helps you, be more productive, get more done, and just put your best self out there?
100%. I'm 20 now, and I haven't had great mental health since I was probably about 10 years old. A lot of the stuff that got me through, I would say probably the main thing that got me through is having aspirations and is having a belief that there is this next step above. And I'm saying, I can get there. And even there's been plenty of times, of course, and this is natural, that you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe you can do well. And that is absolutely fine. As I said, when you get negative thoughts, it's about befriending them and understanding why they exist rather than trying to push them away. It's taking an understanding towards them and saying, and you won't understand at the beginning. You're not necessarily going to understand at the beginning, but it's about trying to figure out why those thoughts exist. Why are you feeling them? And then saying, how can I get past this? And how can I resolve this? And a purpose is something that you can always look forward to. And even if you don't believe in yourself to actually get there, having a purpose, having aspirations, whether it's big, small, whatever, just having something that you can look forward to in the future. And that's not necessarily work related. Your aspiration could be, I want to have a family. I want to get married. It could be, I want to make £1 million or $1 million. It could be anything, but having something that when you're feeling good and when you're feeling bad, you can try and look forward to in the future is one of the best things for your mental state.
And you mentioned this thing of the I can get there belief and how, not everyone has it. And I think especially in the neurodivergent community, low self-esteem and just like low confidence is pretty prevalent. So, how did that come around for you? How did you build up this strong self-belief?
I'm a big believer in small wins. I mentioned that I go to the gym in the morning. That is one small win where you can say, I have done this. And I would say at the beginning, the whole idea of looking in the mirror and saying, I can do this, and saying you believe in yourself can be good. But after a certain period of time, without any evidence towards it, you're not going to believe it and you're going to forget that. You can try and say to yourself that you can do it and you can achieve this, that, and the other. But then the action to go alongside that is that once you've motivated yourself in that day, you then go out and do something that is towards that achievement and that goal. Because one of the biggest things that have improved my self esteem and, well, yeah, my feelings about myself is actually building up evidence for myself to go against the negative. So when those negative thoughts come back and I'm feeling low, I can look back and I can say, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and so I can do this in the future. One of
Mhm.
the things I also do is I keep a gratitude journal, which I really like. It's a book where at the end of every day, you don't have to write a lot. I write 5 bullet points and I say, well, I split the page into two. So I write 5 bullet points and I say, I am grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this. Anything. It doesn't have to be five, it can be one, just something to go to bed on that positive note of you have something in your life to be grateful of. And then on the second half of the page, I give myself one single thing that I need to do tomorrow to improve. Why it's only one thing is that there's a book called Atomic Habits that I really like, and it's all about improving 1% over time. And if you improve 1% every single day over a period of time, there are unbelievable things that you can do. So instead of saying, okay, I'm starting from the bottom, but I want to do this tomorrow, it's never going to happen. It could hypothetically for one day, but keeping that up every single day when you have no habits, you've never built on anything, it's not going to last.
Amazing. I love it. Are there any sort of quotes or inspiring people that you look at or that you repeatedly go back to? to really fire yourself up and get yourself motivated.
One of the simple, very simple quotes that I think of is one actually that Kevin Hart said, and he said that the sun doesn't wait for anyone. And what I like about that is essentially literally saying that a day goes past, 2 days go past, 3 days goes past. It's basically about sort of holding yourself accountable for if you are doing things that are negatively affect if you are doing things that are negatively affecting your life. Obviously, there are things that other people can do to negatively affect your life, but mainly on the things that you do, it's about holding yourself accountable and saying you have to make change in yourself. No one can make change for you. You have to do it within yourself. And the sun's not going to wait for you. Days are going to go by. If you don't change anything, that is on you. Because as far as the things that you're doing to affect yourself, it's as it says, you are literally doing yourself. Um, I would say another quote is by Socrates. And this quote is that the true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. It is this basically saying stay humble, right? There are things you don't know. Every single person can help you. There are going to be people who have there are going to be people who have achieved less than you have that are going to have wisdom that can help you in the future. There are going to be people that have achieved way more than you that are also going to be able to help you. I would also say on the flip side that if you haven't achieved as much, that you're actually every single person in every position is always learning. And it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to feel overwhelmed with everything all going around in the world, all the information being thrown at you. It's okay to not know everything because actually, as the quote says, no one really knows anything in the big picture.
I think, especially in our younger generation, people are not very resilient. I see this with neurodiverse people as well, ADHD and autism. It's just, the moment there's confusion, the moment there's an unknown involved, it's too scary to proceed. Have you found yourself, you know, pushing through those things and finding success, through those hard days, through those hard moments?
I would say the best thing to do in those moments, and it can be extremely difficult. Um, I've, throughout my childhood, had different issues when it comes to fear of the unknown. When I was younger, I had an issue which occurred, which meant basically I was absolutely terrified of leaving the house. And the last thing in the world I wanted to do was step out my front door. I couldn't even walk down the road. And so the advice that I was given was to walk down the road anyway. To start, I walked down my driveway. Then I walked to the end of the road. Then I walked a bit further. Then I walked a bit further. Then I walked a bit further. It's the same concept when I spoke about feeling drained is your brain tells you one thing, but it's probably the opposite of what you actually need. And the solution to that issue to make me feel better was actually to go outside and say, okay, it's not as bad as it is in my head. And it's actually teaching your brain and training your brain to say, okay, this is okay. And I would say there is a lot throughout life of fear of the unknown and what's going to happen. And it's saying to yourself that actually you can't do anything about it. It's about teaching your brain, and this can be through meditation as well. Meditation is a big thing, is sort of the training your brain to compartmentalize and essentially chill out and say, this is okay. It's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's befriending these emotions and saying, this is okay. and trying to calm yourself down. And this is something that I'm still in the process of learning, but I have been doing, and it has personally helped me a lot throughout my childhood.
Yeah. I think in the modern day, technology and social media and the internet is a blessing and a curse. It can really lift people up and, help people reach the moon, or it can be people's demise. And, they get caught stuck scrolling, or they eat a lot of negativity up. What's been your relationship with technology and the internet throughout all of this? Yeah, in what ways has it been a blessing? In what ways has it been, kind of a hindrance?
I would say that there's a lot of people who are very irresponsible with their influence on social media. For example, the whole entrepreneur side of social media. I think it is great to try and motivate people to do well and be successful. And this goes on to another thing where it's social media and this influence of every single person should be an entrepreneur. This is the only way to go about it. Being an entrepreneur isn't for everyone. Because being an entrepreneur, for example, let's talk about stability, right? Having a if you are looking for stability, starting a business is the complete opposite of what you want to do. Starting a business is extremely unstable, but there's all this social media saying, you just do this, this, and this, and then you make 10K a month. It's easy. It's not it's not as easy as social media is making out to be. And I think, again, I have really high aspirations when it comes to business, and it's absolutely fine to have those high aspirations, but it's about having an understanding of the actual process getting from A to B. I would also say that it's quite negative when you look at, like, there are people on social media who are like 12 and 13-year-olds seeing this who are more easily influenced than people who are 17, 18, 19. And I know I started trying to find ways to make money when I was probably about 15. And so it's very easy to get wrapped up in that thing. And it's done well for me starting that young. But there's also an aspect where I look at it and I say there's a lot of things where I was really, really hard on myself as a teenager where I didn't need to be that hard on myself. And this is a whole thing on timelines of how long actual things take. And one of the things that was said to me actually quite recently by someone who's done very, very well for themselves is that if it's too quick, then it's not quite right. And there's something odd about it. Because there are things that you can do that make money very quickly, but they're not just the thing that you're going to see around every single corner. It is not the thing that you're going to see every day. And it takes a lot of extremely hard work to get there.
And so there's a lot of neurodivergent resources out there, and there's a huge neurodivergent community as well. Have you found, those neurodiversity specific resources online to be helpful? And do you find that oftentimes the neurodivergent community or like resources out there have their flaws?
I would say you kind of have to judge it as you do more research into it, right? Because one of the things, like, I personally disagree with the advice. For example, if someone's like, you feel bad in the morning, so, like, as in mentally, you're feeling a bit drained, so don't go to work, don't do this. I disagree with that. It hasn't worked for me. It's a vicious cycle where you're not helping yourself and you're not doing better. You're just giving in. Um, and it's okay to take a day. If things are really, really bad, it's okay to take a day. But the way I do it is, if something's really bad, say someone's died, right? You're feeling really bad, 24 hours. Give yourself 24 hours of what I would call taking a day productively. And what I mean by that is actually you can take a day, but take 24 hours and actually try and process what you're feeling, process your emotions, what they are, why they're happening, actually process the information. Because suddenly it's when you refuse and you ignore the bad emotions and you say, and then suddenly it just hits you like a brick one day. And you're like, okay, this is big. And it's very overwhelming. Actually processing those emotions and saying, okay, I feel sad. Why is this? Why is this? And how can I deal with this? And sometimes the way to deal with it is just to take some time out to yourself. Go for a walk, go on a drive, do anything. Just take your process and take your time. But what I wouldn't do is just do nothing. Do nothing that's productive towards yourself and do nothing that's helping yourself.
Hmm. Yeah. So there's someone watching this video right now who is neurodivergent, is looking to get into the professional world, but maybe just feels kind of lost or stuck, or uninspired. Pretend I'm that person and my first day of work is starting tomorrow. Tell me what I need to hear. My career is just starting.
I would say just give it a crack. It's very natural to feel nervous, especially on your first day, especially starting. I've done an episode in my podcast about imposter syndrome, and that's a really normal thing. I felt it for like the first at least like 7 or 8 months in work. I felt that. Um, you never really know how something is going to end up and what you're struggling with until you actually give it a shot. Go in for your first day, give it a shot, do the best you can, and then at the end of the day, evaluate and you say, okay, what went right? What do I think went wrong? And then the things that went right, great. Celebrate your victories. Then you can look at the negatives and you can say, right, this went bad, which is natural, by the way. Every single person has bad things go wrong on their first day. That is completely normal. So I would say, look at bad things and say, why were they bad? What went wrong? And then how can you improve for the future? But also, I want to note as well, there's a lot of people where, and I've been this person before, definitely, is that something goes wrong and it's like it's the end of the world. One of the big things to do is realize that every single person in that office you just walked into probably had something wrong happen on their first day as well. So something goes wrong, could be a bit embarrassing, could be anything. It's normal. It's okay.
By the way, is there anything else that you just feel really called to say on this podcast or?
I would just thank you for having me. This firstly, but secondly, I would just say the main thing is that it's okay to be neurodiverse and it's okay to have things that you struggle with. It's okay to not know everything. None of us do. But it is about trial and error and just having a go at things. And then once you've had a go at things, you can say what went right, what went wrong. And you can also say the only way you find the stuff that works for you. And bear in mind, the stuff I said may not necessarily work for you, but as a starting point, you only know what works and what doesn't work once you've actually tried something in the first place. So try something in the first place. If something didn't quite work, say, okay, I can try this again. I can try a different thing. And then that thing may not work, and then you can try another. But that third thing may work perfectly fine. But you can only do that in a process of trying and failing and then trying and succeeding.
Elliot, this has been an amazing conversation. I feel it's been super motivating and inspiring for me, and I think any neurodivergent person, looking to navigate the professional world will really come out of this feeling motivated and, having a lot of clarity. How can we support you or find more resources from you?
You can look up on most of the major platforms the Neurodivergent Professional, and you'll find my episodes. I release episodes every 2 weeks on a Monday at 7 a.m. UK time. But yeah,
Amazing. Yeah,
thank you.
we'll put those links down in the description for anyone who's interested. And for anyone watching, if you'd like to go deeper, I'm also going to put some of my resources in the bio as well. Thank you all so much for watching this podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Comment down below if you learned something new or what any of your takeaways were. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.